Hey everyone. I tried to go live, but it seems like they keep changing the rules on Facebook. You have to have 100 followers now in order to go live. So I couldn't do that. Anyway, I just thought that I'd pop on here, and since I haven't chatted for a while, um, just do some catching up with everybody and whatever. Um, so I was still telling my story. Sorry, I just thought instead of staring into the camera, I would crochet um, while talking, making it a bit more interesting, taking my mind off things so that I can actually just relax in front of the camera and not be so formal. So, yeah, I think I was telling you guys about my father who loved to go to the hotel and would get his alcohol at the hotels. By pretending to take us out for a meal and movies. Um, and that was the day that we really got a decent meal. Otherwise, like I said, we used to have mince one night and rice, and the next night we would have boerewors and mash. On a Saturday, fending for ourselves for dinner, as my dad was busy drinking. Well, a lot of good came out of that for me in the fact that my dad would go to the Milton Hotel and drink every Saturday. And I started to hang around with the owners of the hotel. And as a result, I managed to get myself a job. At the age of 13, I was working in the hotel. I was opening and closing the kitchen for meals. I was typing up menus. I was helping serve. I was doing wedding decor, helping with the wedding plannings happening, making snacks for the bar, and babysitting, selling tickets at the nightclub. I did quite a lot of things. And it actually was good for me because I managed to have quite a social weekend. Although I did have other friends, I had a lot of friends. A lot of friends. I had about two friends, but never friends that came to my house because of my dad's drinking and my dad being a single dad. Those years, being a single dad was frowned upon. Um, and so as a result is not many friends were allowed to come to my house. Besides the fact that my dad drank and we didn't want any friends to come around to see that. I must say that I grew up with a lot of freedom that my brother didn't know due to the fact that I was allowed to ride my bicycle on the streets at the age of 11, 12, with my brother almost at the age of 18, wasn't allowed to ride his bicycle on the streets. So my dad had calmed down quite a bit. There was a 5-year difference between my brother and I. I also became something of a bit of a thief. Not proud of that fact. I used to go while my dad was sleeping and steal money from him and go and buy myself toys and go and buy myself chocolates and go and buy myself stuff to bake with. I started to learn to bake, and I would just steal money. And never forget the first time I actually baked. My brother and his friend came home from army. Those years they were conscripted. You had to do 2 years army service. And he came home for a weekend. And obviously eating army food, dog biscuits and whatever else they ate. Seeing the 2 lemon meringue pies in the fridge, he got stuck in, and by the time I got home from my friend, both lemon meringue pies were consumed. Needless to say, I was a little bit angry because I was also looking forward to having a piece of that lemon meringue pie. And lemon meringue pies kind of become a signature dish, and milk tarts. Milk tart is a very South African traditional dessert kind of thing. So yeah, did I have a bad childhood? Some people would say yes. My dad never helped us with homework. He made sure that it was done. I never forget one year there was a Girl Guides play, and I was so excited. I was going to be in this play. My dad bought a ticket for the play. I was finally going to have my dad in a situation where there was no drinking, and he was going to support me. I wasn't doing much for some song we were singing. And of course, you look in the audience. Is your dad going to be there? Can you see him? No. After the play, I waited and waited, and finally my dad came and picked me up and took me home. And of course, he had been drinking. This was the way things worked with us. My dad wasn't big on supporting things that we did. Not my brother's rugby matches or anything like that. There was one thing my dad would support whenever my brother was in the band, the school band. He would attend all parades. But other than that, my dad never supported school functions, never did anything like that. And yeah, is it a tragedy? Yeah, I would like to have had my dad there. Obviously, it was important. I never had my parents attend anything. And it's so strange that when I was in matric, I thought my dad would be different. We'd moved to Joburg. My dad had been sick, and I thought, well, here's my opportunity. My dad will surely come. He hasn't been drinking. He will surely come and support my play. But he didn't. And that was the effect of drinking. I also remember a lot of good times with my dad. My dad might not have supported school stuff, but he was very good at taking us places, to the zoo, to museums. I remember as a child living with my grandparents, my dad would arrive and we would go to the zoo one week, we would go to the museum another week, we would go on a train ride, we would go to Zoo Lake and get a rowing boat. Those were things that I can remember, and I remember as an adult taking my son to the zoo was like honoring my dad. And we even went rowing. I wasn't good at it. The boat just went round and round and round. And then we fished for crabs, rather. It it was good to take my son to do some of the things that I had done as a child, having those childhood memories. And then obviously when we moved to Cape Town, I was able to swim with him and do all of those things that my dad did. My dad one time said, let's go swimming. And we said to him, hey, but it's raining. And he said, well, water's wet. So yeah, was it all bad? No friends at home, drunk, being asked 100 times, "Are you okay?" when he's drunk. Yeah, but I honestly can't say that I had a bad childhood. I could have had better. My mom wasn't around. My grandparents tried to create as much of a family life as they possibly could when we lived with them. Um, but in general, I think I did okay. And I came out okay. I had a lot of women that passed through my life that were mothers, not stepmoms. My dad never let women take over, except my one stepmom. And then after that, he didn't introduce us to women. Um, and yeah, a lot of my friends' moms became moms to me and aunts. And so I really appreciated them. It wasn't all bad. And then I think I'm going to move on to the next part of my life with a new addiction, a new addict. My mom, and her addiction was totally different to my dad's.